Gange Tava Pada Pankajam Sura Surair Vandita Divya Rupam Bhuktim Cha Muktim Cha Dadasi Nityam Bhavanusarena Sada Narana Jai Jai Gange Jaya Hara Gange Jai Jai Gange Jaya Hara Gange Jai Jai Gange Jaya Hara Gange Jaya Jaya Gange Jaya Hara Gange Jai Jai Gange Jaya Hara Gange Jaya Jaya Gange Jaya Hara Gange Jai Jai Gange Jaya Hara Gange Jaya Jaya Gange Jaya Hara Gange At the outset, let me congratulate all you young families which are here this morning on a Sunday morning. For the entire family to be up and ready and arrive here on time is not an ordinary achievement. And so we are very happy to see you here, because we have a very special day today. A day that can really transform a lot in your family dynamics. A day that can bring a tremendous direction to the way we raise children as immigrant generation in a foreign land. And hence, I look upon today a family workshop day it is, to set our foundation, to set us all together on one page, in one frame. I will spend the morning hours till noon sharing with you some of the principles of what it takes to make Bhagwan a family member. This is not an ordinary concept, let me tell you. It's a concept that has its roots in the Advaita Vedanta Parampara. It has its foundation in a very powerful spiritual cultural traditions. And therefore, what we are about to start doing together is to first gain an insight ourselves as adults as to what are those elements that make our culture, our tradition unique, different from the world cultures. This is extremely, I consider this extremely critical to raising a family as a minority faith in an alien land. And hence, really, I welcome you all with my heart and soul to today's event. Many of us grew up in India. In India, where whatever may be the faith, There is something called a civilizational identity that we all have. Whether you may belong to the Islamic faith or the Christian faith, whatever be one's faith, still there is a civilizational identity, please understand. And in that civilizational identity comes a culture which is not an ordinary culture, whose roots are based in nothing other than, nothing short of the Vedas. And hence, if someone were to ask, what is the culture of India? We have to ask back, which culture are you asking about? Are you asking about today's culture? Are you asking about the root culture, the indigenous culture? Which culture you want to know? The root culture of that civilization is the Vedas. The contemporary culture is a hodgepodge. But the root culture, the indigenous culture, is the Veda. Many lands have their native culture, the aborigines of this land. No matter who came after, the natives are the natives, aren't they? They will ever be the natives, however down the history you may go. The native traditions, the tribal traditions, are those root cultures of that soil. And therefore we cannot deny ourselves a basic truth, and that is the Veda forms the indigenous culture of India. And India that happens to be a very, very ancient land. And when you say ancient, therefore there is going to be hundreds of thousands of years of legacy, of other invasions and other cultures and so much else that happens in a society, a civilization that lives for thousands of years. It is not an ordinary, being able to ride the changes, being able to survive the changes, the onslaughts of time, and all that it brings to a society. Many old civilizations are there in the world that today stand only as library books. There are no more living civilizations, right? Like the Egyptian, the Greek, they're not living civilizations. You want to know about the Egyptian culture, you have to go to the library book. You don't go to Egypt to see the people living their culture. You want to see the Native Americans, you don't find any Native American in America. They're all stuck in those reservations as alcoholics. Their culture been destroyed for what it was. And so here we are talking about an indigenous culture, an indigenous civilization, which is not only the most ancient in the planet today, but it is a living, vibrant culture that sits in the consciousness of the people of India. It's a living, vibrant cultural traditions it carries that is spread all over, wherever the people of that land went, whichever part of the planet. They took their traditions, they protected it, they maintained it, they handed it over generation to generation. Well, maybe a few got lost, but many have managed to hold their cultural traditions very dear. It's not a simple thing at all. And this civilization and its cultural identity, when you look at, there is something. What is that? What is that element that made us, that helped us live through, survive time the way it did? Why is it that others got wiped away over the centuries? What made us live on and grow? Did we have anything special about us? Was there a master key that our civilization held that others did not? Was there something unique in our philosophy? Was there something special in our people? I mean, when you look back, it is something that you can only be in awe of who you are. It's very important for that garva, that pride, that ownership that we need to first feel in our own hearts. Ownership of our knowledge tradition, our cultural traditions, and ownership, not a taravali. If I look upon it as very attention, how to get this thing into my children, how to get the pushing the kids or pushing myself to light a lamp, it's not going to go anywhere. The first chance they get, they're going to break out of the whole thing. Unless there is a passion for your own, a love for your own tradition, a love for your own identity, is going to be very, very difficult to pass on the spirit of your tradition to the next generation. And therefore, a cultural education is the need of the hour. Really. It's not that we lack culture. We have culture. All of us have our family traditions and whatnot. But do we know why we do what we do? Do we know whether this pottu, what is it? Is it a cosmetic dot on the forehead? Is it a symbol of marriage? If it's a symbol of marriage, some Hindus will say, yes, it is a symbol of marriage. But then why are those young unmarried girls wearing? And it is a symbol for unmarriage also. A marriage, unmarriage, you're confusing. Oh, so you mean to say it's for all the women? Yeah. I meant to say it's for all the women. But I see the men also wearing pottu. Oh, yeah, that's how some places there. This is not your answer. This is not how we are supposed to know what we are doing. Every symbol has a purpose, has a meaning, has a spirit behind it. And therefore, I may have the forms, the cultural practices, but do I know why? The parent generation needs to ask. We need to ask ourselves, and if we don't, it's okay. Let us start learning. Like you go through your childhood education, first, second standard, one more round with your own child as you train the kid. Well, this is going to be another round of education for you to know why you do what you do. One thing that makes us stand totally apart from all other world cultures is a very important aspect that we need to understand. Every civilization has culture. Don't just say only we have culture. Where there are some wild cats. Every civilization has its own culture. Culture means, understand, a culture is understood with its components, such as food, such as dress, clothing, language, music, dance, fine arts, performing arts. All this forms the components of a culture of a group of people. Everybody has all of this, is it not? Everyone has music and dance and arts and so on. But the difference is this. that while these other civilizations, cultures are more or less secular, there is this Vedic culture that is not secular. It seems to have an extra element called the sacred. Our culture is a sacred culture. Those cultures are secular cultures. Sacred and secular, that's all the difference. But it makes a world of difference in the way you look at your practices and the way they do look at their practices. Tell me, is bathing secular or sacred? Is cooking secular or sacred? Is wearing jewels secular or sacred? Cholungo. Bathing, of course, it is secular. Is waking up in the morning and stepping off the bed, is it secular or sacred? You can shrug your shoulders. You understand where I'm getting at? A day-to-day life, is it secular or sacred? Wearing these robes, is it secular or sacred? Wearing those colors that you do, is it secular or sacred? Holding a book in hand, dropping it on the floor, or sitting on it. These activities, secular or sacred, would you or would you not? Understand, this is a sacred living culture. A sacred living culture where every form speaks to you. Speaks to you. When you see a woman in certain colors with certain jewels, she speaks to you without a word. Enna? What does she say? I'm married. Therefore what? Stay away of me. Because her clothes will be such, her jewels will be such, her pottu will be such, her bindi, her sindoor will be such. From head to toes, her whole appearance is such that you know, okay, stay off. Right? The form speaks to you. If you are learning music, dance, art speaks to you. What? A secular language or a sacred language? If it's Bollywood, it is definitely secular. Definitely secular. Anything that invokes base emotion is secular in art. When a dancer dances and the audience, what is it, what rasa do you invoke in your audience? If it is base emotion, then that art form is called base. If when the artist performs and communicates the sacred and your emotions are elevated, then that art form is sacred. If you look at even not only our classical art forms, you even look at our folk dances. Are they base or are they elevating? Elevating. Even Garba used to be a sacred art form. Ras used to be sacred. Krishna Leela it was. Devi stutis are chanted when they do Garba those days. Ippo enna? Ella disco dandiya. So what are we doing? What is modernity? Is it about stripping our forms from its value of the sacred? It's stripping away the forms from the sanctity? What are we doing to our culture? Well, it will happen if we don't understand this extra element that sits in our cultural traditions. Food is sacred. Adanal, housewife does not, when she is making that sambar or whatever, she doesn't take that karandi and then pours in her mouth to taste. Na eppadi irukana. Sometimes they even lick off the karandi. And then put a spoon back to mix. In our tradition, impossible. The lady of the house should always be worried. Was it enough salt, enough sweet? Because she cannot taste. Why can she not taste? Because this is a sacred process. This needs to be taken and offered to the divine. You don't eat everything and then offer to the divine. Only after you have offered, then you start eating. It's prasadam. Food is prasadam. Prasadam, you can't complain. She's very clever, She first puts it there. So that afterwards, whatever comes to the table is prasadam. Prasadam na oru vaarthe sollakudadu. You cannot say this is too much karam, less karam, either other. You cannot complain. You don't complain prasadam from the temple. This pongal was not good at all. What a prasadam they gave us. You cannot complain. Prasadam na, right? Goes to my eyes, goes to my heart and into my stomach. There is a bhavana, an attitude that goes behind, a spirit that goes behind receiving prasadam. This is a very, very culture. The element of the sacred needs to be brought into our lives. That is precisely what needs to be handed over to the young generation. Please tell me, how are you going to do that? How are we going to do that when you ask your child to learn Carnatic music sitting in Sydney? And he'll say, Dad, you want me to learn music, right? I learn music, but I'm going to do it my way. I love the opera. I love jazz. Mom was a Bharatanatyam dancer. And she starts Tayyatari with her little one. As long as she's 3-year-old, it is okay. Once she starts going to school, she decides which dance form she is going to learn. Am I right or wrong? How are you going to insist? How are you going to make them understand that culture is to be learned through these components? And every component carries a unique element which is missing in these other Western cultural forms. Why is this better than that? When the child asks, and what do? You ba. This is how it is. Hey, this is how it is, won't work anymore. I need to be able to explain why it is the way it is. The importance of what? Of bringing Bhagavan into my life. For us, God is not a concept. For us, God is not Ishvara. You call him Ishvara, you call him Bhagavan, you call him Devata, call him whatever you want. Bhagavan is not a concept, an idea at the back of your mind. Let's talk about Bhagavan today. So, is he in Vaikuntha or is he in Kailasha? This is not an armchair discussion here. Why don't you just check with him where he is living and close the matter? Why do you and I have to fight on this? Silly. For us, he is not a concept. God is everywhere, true. But his hometown is India, Bharat. That is exactly where it is the Indians, it is the Hindus who have owned him up as part of their day-to-day life. You cannot do anything without Bhagavan. When a marriage is happening in the family, first card goes to Bhagavan. When the engineer is going to start his new project, before his bosses arrive, first thing he will do is silently Bhumi Puja. Ella sariya nadakano. This bridge, when I complete, it should sit at least in my lifetime, it should not break down. You seek blessings from all corners. Everything we do, every time, even an ordinary auto rickshaw guy goes to his auto rickshaw, what does he do first thing? He will put that dhupbatti there, put 2 flowers there, do Ram Ram, and then start, is it not? Every time you have a success, you have bought something, you bought a new car, where do you go? Do you dash to the ocean, to the beach? You look for the nearest temple. Because gratitude. And so in daily living, integrating Bhagavan into my daily life is a very essential element of being a Hindu. A very essential element for the Hindu consciousness to bring Bhagavan in my day-to-day life. If parents have it, believe me, children have it. If you have done your namaskara, the kid will do his namaskara. You don't just expect children to do what you want them to do and your head never bows. It never is going to work that way. Don't leave this responsibility to your caretakers and babysitters or the grandparents of the children to come from India, and it is their project and their responsibility. Amma ella shloka ella solli kudunga amma enakku time e kediyadu. Ee amma ethna naal irpaanga. She is with you for 10 days, 15 days, 1 month. What about those 11 months that you have to take care of your baby? It is for you to take to some of these routines, because really in the Hindu consciousness, Bhagavan is the oldest family member, the senior most family member, the best provider. What is it he has not provided in life? Is provided the wonderful parents, wonderful siblings. You look at the whole Indian civilization, how powerful we have been, how much together we have been. The familial, economy is not ordinary. Family for us is everything, is it not? The Grihastha ashrama, every Indian is a married man. Rarest of rare are those souls who manage to escape marriage, like we. It was not difficult to convince yourself about your lifestyle you wanted, but to convince your family members, only Bhagavan could help. Because there is no second choice, This is how it is. Whether you want it or not, like it or not, this is how it is. Grihastha ashrama has been given the highest place in our society. That is our growth cycle. Why? That is part of our biological, physiological, emotional, spiritual, psychological growth cycle into being a mature adult. There is no other way except to grow into roles and responsibilities with the support of a core group of people called your family members. And in this family, while my living through my day-to-day challenges, I learned to include one more family member, called that provider, that being because of whom we are all together the way we are. And therefore, one important attitude in our culture is to understand what is given. Given. Everything is given. That is why an attitude that makes the Hindu consciousness unique is, what? Always remember this, the attitude of gratitude. Gratitude. We may not have in our conventions, hey, thank you. Somebody opens the door, thank you. Somebody bangs the door closed, thank you. Either thank you, nadakade namakku. It's not an act-based nandri, thank you. It is an attitude of gratitude that is seen in the eyes of the people, that is seen in the humility. If there is one most docile civilization in this world, is the Hindu civilization. The most docile we are. Yes, such Buddhus, Buddhas in the sense we never ever thought that we should cross oceans and conquer other lands. Look at the planet around you. Look at how aggressive civilizations have been. That when crossing oceans and what? Destroying the indigenous people and occupying their lands. Did any of your Purvajas did this? Ask. We may have had fights with each other. Neighboring Rajas fought with each other. But we never crossed the ocean to occupy others' lands. Right? Docile. We were contented with what we had. And therefore, this gratitude has been a great strength. We've got to teach the attitude of gratitude to our children. A very, very important attitude. Why? Because either it is gratitude or it is greed, understand? If there is no gratitude, what's going to be the flip side? Cholungo? Greed. Why? Because the children will see what they don't have. Why children? We also see. My Tangachi got a nice golden chain. He gave her on her birthday. Every year he gives her something or the other. And my Patidev doesn't even remember when was my birthday. If I say something, he says, you go and buy, I'll give you the money. What kind of a person? Purana. The sense of insufficiency, the sense of lack. That lack, that I lack. A Hindu mind is a mind that doesn't see lack. That learns to be at peace with what I have. I remember as a child, this is how our parents brought us up. I used to get, as a school girl, 2 new dresses in a year. Avladhan. Only 2 times. Deepavali I will get, my Janmadinam I will get. If I ask for New Year, because my cousin got new dress na, mother will ask what for. I remember one time as a teenager, I thought I should really give them back, my parents, I said, why don't you get me more new clothes? Look at the others, New Year they are having and other events they are having. Why can we not afford? And my mother pulled me aside, sat me down and she said, do you need it? Do you not have enough? Let's look at the cupboard, how much do you have? It is not about what you can afford. It's about where is the need, how much is the need, requirement. And so this comparing with others comes when I see what I lack. The glass may be half empty, or it may be half full. Which is true? Which is true? Both are true. Apo, where should I look? I only see what is empty. If I keep seeing what is empty, then yarudu tappu? Who's seeing insufficiency? And if I'm stuck with a mind of insufficiency, you think it's not too far away that greed will kick in? The obsession, the addiction to having the more I have, more I have, more I have. Our tradition says, Sahi bhavati daridraha yasya trishna vishala manasi cha paritushte ko arthavan ko daridraha. No. Daridra is a beggar. Who is a beggar? Sahi bhavati daridraha. He alone is a beggar. Yasya trishna vishala. Whose trishna, whose longing, whose craving is, keeps on going. Because the emptiness is so much. That 50%, no, my glass is half empty, is all this fellow sees. Yasya trishna vishala sahi bhavati daridraha. Whereas manasi cha paritushte, the one whose heart is satisfied. There are people who are satisfied with 2 pairs of clothes. There are others, even 200 saris you put in that closet, she will be buying another 12 every year. You can't open the cupboard and these you find these clothes simply fall out. One who manasi cha paritushte, one whose mind is satisfied. He is a arthavan, he is a wealthy person. And therefore, in educating our child, in bringing Bhagwan into my life, what do I need to do? I need to cultivate an attitude of, number 1, gratitude. By seeing what is given, attitude of gratitude, by seeing what is given, and number 2, to make sure that I do not look at lack. I learn to be satisfied. And these are values that only parents can give. And so here I'm going to be giving you some exercises. I talk about 7 building blocks to make Bhagwan your family member. Okay? 7 building blocks to make Bhagwan your family member. And you have to see where you have excluded him. Why my friendship, why my relationship with Bhagwan, is it strong or weak? Have I nurtured one element in a relationship or not? I have to look at as an adult. That's why this is a family package, understand? Today is a family workshop because only as a family I can include him as a family member. And so number 1, we say, know Bhagwan, know him. Know who he is, not now, I'll tell you when. Know Bhagwan means know who he is. In our tradition, he is understood as, please note, because this afternoon there's going to be a lot of games and you're going to enact these 7 steps. The families that are here, please make a note, you're going to enact. You're going to take one element for this friendship, okay? And therefore, step number 1 is know God, know Bhagwan. How will you know him? By knowing that he is not merely an intelligent cause of the universe. He is not merely an omniscient being. Many faiths talk about Bhagwan as an intelligent cause because when you see such a universe which is orderly, which is intelligent, it is programmed, it is systematic, it is predictable, you assume there must be someone who has put this together. And that person must also be intelligent, predictable, orderly, organized, systematic. There must be some intelligence which could put a universe like this in place. And so faiths do talk about a Karanam, cause of the universe, whom we call Nimitta Karanam, the omniscient cause, the intelligent cause. And that's where it is left. It is our tradition. It is our Vedantic tradition that not only looks at Bhagwan as an intelligent cause, we also talk about Bhagwan as a material cause. He is not just an intelligent cause, he is also the material cause because mere intelligence cannot produce a creation. You have a lot of intelligence. Can you make roti? You know how to make roti. You know how to do even by hand. A small ball can become flat. But by just doing this, you can make roti. You need material. If you have merely dough but you don't have the know-how, you still cannot make roti. Therefore, for any creation you require 2 causes, Nimitta Karanam and Upadana Karanam, intelligent cause and material cause. Question arises as to, are these 2 separate from each other or are they one? This is a family workshop. It is not my Bhagavad Gita Pravachanam. I'm not unfolding my verses of Advaita Vedanta Shastra, and therefore I will just give you the outcomes. Is Nimitta Upadana Karanam 2 causes, like the pot maker and the clay? Then intelligent cause is different, material cause is different. The material is picked up by the intelligent cause and made into a wonderful pot by the skill. 2 different causes. But Let me ask you, when you make that world at night, where you have forests and rivers and mountains, and the tigers and all these animals, and you are stuck in this forest and you are being chased by a tiger, and you're running, and then finally you manage to climb a big tree, and this tiger cannot climb as high as you. You were an athlete. And so finally your life is saved, but now it is dusk and you have to manage the whole night up on this tree. And you stay there watching the tiger below and watching, you fall asleep. You fall asleep and suddenly you hear thud. What has happened? You have fallen from the tree. Fallen from the tree, you find yourself next to your bed on the floor. You wake up. Hey, what happened? That third word, what happened? Oh, I fell okay. I mean, yeah, something is a little too hard a fall, but at least there is no tiger. Where did this tiger come from in your bedroom? நான் தான் create பண்ணிட்டேன். I became the tiger. I became the victim of the tiger. I became the animate object, the inanimate object. I became the forest, the beings, the trees. I became the intelligent cause and the material cause. Did you wake up at night, go out and pick up the rocks and come back? No. The Swapna Srishti was created by me. And the Shastra, the scriptures, the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads go eloquent in elaborating, explaining, making us understand that both these karanams are not two separate karanam. Both are abhinna nimitta upadana karanam. Both are rolled into one. One is a higher, we call para-prakriti. The other is apara-prakriti. In the Bhagavad Gita, you find these expressions talking about the intelligent and the material cause, the conscious being and the matter, or Shiva and Shakti, Mahavishnu and Lakshmi. That is the reason why our gods are happily married. Yeah. Two causes. For any Srishti, two causes. One is represented as the male, the other the female, Ardhanarishwara. And so these concepts we've got to educate ourselves to understand, to know. Who is Bhagwan now? Where is he? If he is Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam, where is he? Where were you in the dream? Were you just the victim of that tiger? No, I was the tiger also. I was the runner. I was the chaser. I was the animate. I was the inanimate. All that is here is Bhagwan. That's why Ishavasya Upanishad begins to say, Ishavasyam idam sarvam. The whole teaching is this, that all that is here is Bhagwan. He manifests in various phenomena, various powers. You see his glories manifest. Learn chapter 9 and 10 of the Bhagavad Gita. Concluding with the 11th, you will understand how Ishvara is understood in our tradition. And therefore, any form you see, you can invoke the power behind that form. Because power is Bhagwan. When you want to lift your hand, you want to lift. Whether the hand will go up or not, is it in your hands? Eh? A time may come and you say, hey, come on, move. It won't listen to you. It won't listen to you because it's not in my hands. This power is a different power. The fact that the hands can grasp, the fact that the eyes can see, all these powers that are in me are not mine. These powers are nothing but of the higher nature, the intangible, the Devata. And therefore, reverence to these powers. When you do your Sandhya, all this you touch everywhere, what is that? You are acknowledging the powers that are in you. Hindu Dharma is a Dharma, a civilization that could see the powers in all phenomena. Unique. That is why reverence is very important for us. Not only gratitude, reverence. Reverence to our Nadi. The world may call her H2O, but we call her Ganga with hands folded. We do other mess up also, we'll talk about that later. That's because we become so insensitive to environment. That's a whole different project now. But I'm talking about the philosophy. People may see a mountain, we call him Arunachala, Shiva. You look at the sun, he is just an energy giver. For us, he is Surya Deva. Is it not? And so the winds, the rivers, the oceans, wherever there is a phenomenon, it is nothing but Bhagavan in our day-to-day living. And therefore, the sanctity of creation is something, it is alive, it is immediate. And so Bhagavan is not a concept, he is not living in a Swarga somewhere in one corner, he is here and now in our day-to-day living. And therefore, your one step is know Bhagavan. You're going to get these sheets. Number 2 is trust him. Trust. Now that I know him, I trust him. Why should you trust him? Why should you trust? Because he's the best provider. You trust your dad and mom. Why? Because they keep giving you what you require. And here in your life, you came with an empty stomach, no? When you came into your parents' belly, kids who are here, did you carry grains of rice and food and bags of vegetables and so on? No. You came with an empty stomach. You came with empty lungs. Why? Because you knew that oxygen will be provided. You knew food will be provided for your entire life. You knew. Elena, mother has to carry cylinders of oxygen. She couldn't carry you 2 kilos. How is she going to carry your lifelong need for oxygen? Trust. Trust that I walk with empty hands, but I will be taken care. And this, as a family, parents and grandparents need to cultivate that, not only in children. Don't worry about your children. Worry about yourself. Do you trust? If you trust, the children will pick up your own thought system. If you distrust, they will pick up your thought system. And therefore, trusting the divine because he is the best provider is going to be your second step to making God Ishvara, Bhagavan, your family member. Trust. You cannot live in a home if you don't trust your parent. The day you distrust, you will walk away. Am I right? And therefore, trusting Bhagavan is a very important thing. I don't know, but Bhagavan knows. Nadukkum, ella nadukkum, nalla nadukkum. If you say mudiyade, theriyade, nadakade, if you say nahi hoga, kaise hoga, malum nahi hoga, nahi hoga, what do you create? You create stress in the house. You create anxiety. Your anxieties are passed on to young ones. And therefore, parents who operate with trust, yes, it will be okay. It will be okay. Trusting the divine is really, we have to cultivate in our relationship to the divine. Number 3, I say, listen to Bhagavan. Listen. How do you listen? There's a very beautiful exercise here. You will do this in the afternoon. Right? Afternoon means 12 o'clock. After my second session, you're going to do this exercise as families, family units. Do you listen to Bhagavan? I'm not going to tell you how. You're going to do it yourself. There are 2 voices that we respond to. One is called the voice of the ego. The other is the voice of the soul. When you listen to the voice of the soul, know that that is the voice of your higher self, voice of Ishvara, voice of Dharma. And I have given you a very beautiful listing for us to be able to see which one we respond to. Each person will get their own sheet, including children. Don't say, child, which one you respond to. No, you do yours and kid will do his. The kid may be smarter than you for all you know. And so let each one do their own reflection. I will give you this when you sit for your group discussion. And so do you listen to the voice of Bhagavan or do you listen to the voice of ego? You are going to ask yourself, evaluate yourself in this reflection. And the 4th one, there are 7 steps. The 4th one is very beautiful. I can listen. I listen. Okay, I understand how to listen. But you don't always listen in a relationship, do you? You also talk. A relationship is 2 ways when you can listen and you can talk. Do you talk to God? Do you talk to Bhagavan? If you do, how? Many people don't go to temples because they don't know what to do there. They complain, I don't know what to do. Therefore I don't go. This is one argument Hindus will give. Try giving this argument if you are in another faith. All arguments to just sleep another 2 hours, you know. Verunnu illa. Laziness, lethargy. And do I talk? Have I learned how to dialogue with Ishvara? And in this we have very beautiful tools that our tradition gives us. It's called Navavedha Bhakti. I will elaborate this when we come back to pick up from 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. These 4 more steps I will share with you. And these 7 steps we are going to evaluate as a family, as individuals to see in which step is our strength in our family, which step we are a little weak, we have to work on in building my relationship with Bhagavan. And this is going to be your workshop, your reflections. And so now we will take a little break and I will come back and we will have the last 4 steps. First was know Bhagavan. The second was trust Bhagavan. The third is listen to Bhagwan. Fourth is going to be talk to Bhagwan. Third and fourth, I give you examples of detailed reflection which you will do, and then 5, 6, 7 remains to be seen in the next session. அப்புறம் கொடுக்கலாம்.